Hey everybody, this is Marian Owen.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. And today, I was made to watch Howard the Duck.
Yeah, Howard the Duck. How about that?
I can't deny that is a sick beat.
That's a banger. You know why that's a banger?
It slaps. Because a duck was involved in it. I don't know.
No. It's a banger because it was written by Thomas Dolby.
Oh, the
man who was previously blinded by science.
That would do it.
Yes.
Now that you mention that, I feel like there's a lot of Thomas Dolby influence in this because Tim Robbins' character is a little bit out of the blinded me with science trope.
The mad scientist. Thomas Dolby's actually in this movie. He's a bartender in the scene where Howard roughs up the
one with the beret and the.
Did he have a beret? I don't really.
Yeah, he
recall.
looked like a very stereotypical French guy.
Sure,
okay.
That's Thomas Dolby in that.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, Howard the Duck. Yeah. Which is of course the 1986 Marvel Comics.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know about that angle to it. So if you can explain that briefly, that would help.
Howard the Duck is a Marvel Comics character.
Okay,
he exists within their continuity. He appeared in the post-credit scene of Guardians of the Galaxy, so he's officially in the MCU as well.
Wow, I did not know this.
Yes, he also appeared in Endgame, or one of the big Avengers movies, toting a big gun that he shot.
Oh my gosh,
at bad guys with.
Okay, that's hilarious. Yes. I didn't know any of this.
He's just a weird character. I'm sure there's a story behind him. I was never a fan of his, but yeah, he has this whole cast of characters that are unique to him, and he appears. For many years as sometimes comic relief, sometimes more serious character. He's a Marvel property.
Now that you mention it, there are some parallel. He seems similar to Thor, the way that Thor was when he landed on Earth in the first Thor movie.
Sure,
just a little. I mean, I guess it's the obvious of male alien lands and female finds him. Like that's all really you need for it to be similar. But
yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a long history of Howard the Duck, and I'm sure there are people who love Howard the Duck would take some umbrage with this movie or his depiction or whatever.
Probably.
But Howard the Duck is awesome.
I have to say I enjoyed this much more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Partly I had it conflated in my mind with this movie that was on PBS about the same time. It was, they had this series called Wonderworks, which was like movies for kids, but like public television type movies for kids, not stupid cartoons.
All right.
Like probably Anne of Green Gables was shown through the Wonderworks platform and stuff like that. But this one was called The Hoboken Chicken Emergency.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
And I think it's based on a book, but even at the time, I remember thinking, this is so fucking stupid. I don't think I said fucking at age 9, but if I had that word in my vocabulary, I would have. And so I conflate those two in my head, but this is...
All right.
I would say parts of this are stupid, but it's stupid in a good way. So I think 9-year-old me...
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, there is the fact that we noted this is rated PG.
Yes.
This is not a PG movie. So we were trying to figure out when the PG-13 rating was invented. This is
right around
PG-13.
This is right around the time PG-13 got invented. Because there's not really. I mean, when you think about it, what is there in this movie that would make it PG-13? There's
interspecies sex.
Well, implied. Interspecies.
Sure. Well, and duck sex. Ducks are apparently mammals now.
They got boobies
on this planet.
On the duck planet.
Well,
duck
and they
world.
have genitals.
Yeah, they got a ding dong. Well, you don't see that, but you do see, and this is
heavily
actually
implied.
This is actually is important enough to me that it's a bullet point on our notes. duck boobs. Then I just wrote nipples? ? Why, so something has changed about the physiology of ducks.
Well,
they're still clearly born from eggs because there are jokes about eggs, and Howard freaks out when he's served eggs at a certain point.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, let's just give you a synopsis.
Yes. You
of Howard the Duck.
You do the plot overview.
Okay, so Howard is a duck that is fine. He lives on a planet of ducks called Duck World, I think. He lives in
Marshington, DC.
Marshington, DC.
Everything is.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
The ducks somehow live on a world that is all based on puns of human things.
Yeah.
But anyway, he is he's given up on his dreams of being a musician and is now just got himself a nice corporate copywriting job.
Oh God, that was a little bit of a knife to the heart somebody who now is in something very similar and did not start out intending to be that. I was like, why'd you come for me, Howard the Duck? I didn't expect that on this Sunday.
Howard hitting too close to home.
A little bit.
And he is just, he's having one of his obviously sad little evenings at home where he drinks a beer and smokes a cigar and watches cable television and gets sucked through a crazy portal tube thing and ends up on Earth where he meets Beverly, who is played by Leah Thompson, and her rock band featuring Holly Robinson Peete. Or just Holly Robinson at the time.
I think she was just Robinson at that point. But
and he wants to get back home, and through a series of interactions with Beverly and her associates, including a sort of wannabe scientist lab assistant, they find out that through an experiment he was pulled to Earth, some kind of crazy laser thing. And now his only hope to get back home is that Jeffrey Jones sends him back home without molesting him first. And things go awry, and they accidentally summon a god demon from the blackness of space.
Yeah,
and
they keep calling it a dark overlord, and I was like, are you intending to say duck overlord? I feel like given all the duck puns, a different name for them would have been better.
So the one thing that I do know about Howard the Duck is that he was originally brought to Earth by a dark overlord named Thog, I think, who sends him to Earth for some reason. I don't know. And they're kind of like he's Howard's big bad. So that's effectively who this is supposed to be in this movie. They don't ever call him by name. They just call him the Dark Overlord or Dark Overlord.
Okay.
And wackiness ensues, and we end with a big musical number, and everybody's happy. And Tim Robbins is in it, and he's wacky.
Yeah.
Remember old Tim Robbins? Remember when Tim Robbins, like
pre-Shawshank.
Tim Robbins and Tom Hanks both had the same career arc. In the 80s, we thought that they were going to be goofy comedian, comic actors.
Yes.
And in the 90s, they both took a turn for the serious and became real, legitimate, serious actors.
They chose the Oscar track.
Yes.
Instead of the, I don't know
the Razzie or
the
whatever.
Adam Sandler track.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for both of them. So that's Howard the Duck. It's a wacky 80s adventure. It's George Lucas produced this thing and lost his shirt. Lost a lot of money on it.
Oh, so this did not do well.
No, this was a huge flop. The head of Universal quit, possibly related to this. This movie is responsible for the creation of Pixar, effectively.
Okay.
So Lucas he was riding high on Star Wars, and he had just built the Skywalker Ranch and all the accoutrement, the millions and millions of dollars that he put into this compound where he was going to make his movies and do his Skywalker sound and Industrial Lights and Magic and all this stuff. And he needed to make some money back. So he was like, oh, this big, what we need is a big comic book movie about a duck. And I'm going to sink a lot of money into this, including like multi-millions of dollars into the duck suit.
Oh, geez.
And the various, stunt ducks and all this duck suits. And he was depending on the returns from this movie to pay for all of the work at Skywalker Ranch. And he lost money big time. And his good buddy Stevie Jobs stepped in and said, "Hey, look, I know you got this CGI studio that you're trying to get off the ground." And look, I know you need money, so I can give you. This is busted. It's like you haven't even made a movie with the studio yet. But if you give it to me, and all the technology that you've created for it, I'll give you a good price for it. Market value, whatever, and you'll be good. And so Lucas just needed money really badly, so he sold Steve Jobs what would become Pixar Studios.
Wow!
And then forever. Movie history was changed right there. So, Toy Story could have been a George Lucas joint.
I'm wondering now, can we blame this movie for the existence of Jar Jar Binks? Because, had this gone better, would he have done the sequels at a different time? Would Jar Jar have been created?
Right. Yeah. Had this been a big hit, he could have paid off Skywalker Ranch, and he would have spent the late 80s, early 90s producing the sequel trilogy instead of the prequel trilogy. Instead of the late 90s. And we could have gotten. Maybe we would have never had the special edition Star Wars with all the added special effects and the fact that we can't get the originals anymore.
Would have been a better young Anakin.
Han shot first. Yeah. All that would have been intact.
But you know what, then? We wouldn't have that meme that is hot right now of Anakin saying something and
right.
and Padme is like, but blah, 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 right?
Stern
blah,
face.
blah, 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 right? Yeah.
That's a good one.
Probably by the time this episode comes out, that will be over, and people will be like, "What? I don't
look at these.
What?
Look at these grandparents talking about memes from 6 weeks ago."
Yeah.
Howard the Duck. It's a crazy thing that it ever got made. There's also a story about a couple of the guys from Universal at a test screening that went so poorly that they started arguing about who greenlit this, and supposedly got in a fist fight about who greenlit this pile of garbage. But over the years, this movie has gained a total cult following. Everything about this movie says cult classic.
Yeah, it's not like, I wouldn't honestly call it a pile of garbage. And this is not like, I obviously hadn't seen this. This was not something that my parents were going to spend money on taking us to see. Right. And it's not really my jam, but it's it's silly. It's wacky. It's a very 80s.
Yes.
It's got a lot of it's sort of like Mork and Mindy meets E.T. meets
a little bit of Short Circuit in there.
A little bit of Ghostbusters.
A lot of Ghostbusters-esque special effects in this movie.
Yeah. And I feel like there's something else.
Yeah, I mean this movie is so many things wrapped into one, right?
Yeah.
It's sci-fi, it's comedy, it's got some contemporary-ish music in it. So it's got that. It's got the male-female lead dynamic of Howard and Beverly, and it's got Phil, who's the Tim Robbins character, and Howard in this goofy sort of buddy cop almost kind of pairing for part of the movie.
And the band is a little bit, I don't know, is that enough?
They're like a Josie and the Pussycats kind of thing.
That, and they've got a terrible manager. There's a lot of
there's all kind of it's got so much stuff in it.
Yeah, you're gonna feel like I've seen this before, right? Because there's these echoes of so much.
Yeah, it's a bunch of tropes. What back then they wouldn't have understood it as tropes, but people have always understood archetypal storytelling and all this stuff. But 100%. It is, and I think this movie. I think there's a cut of this movie that could exist that's about 90 minutes instead of like 110 or whatever.
It could have been trimmed a lot.
It's almost 2 hours. There's a version of this movie that exists, but then I don't know what I would cut. I think probably some of the band stuff is a little superfluous. The stuff with the manager of the band, like none of that, the movie works without that stuff. So, there's stuff there you could cut around, but then that's building the relationship between Howard and Beverly. And
well, I would have cut their romance for sure. That is, I am very uncomfortable.
This is the movie that launched 1 million furries. You let people who want to fantasize about being animals think they can score Leah Thompson.
Fanfic based on this? I bet there is.
I mean, undoubtedly. There's just unnecessarily graphic pornography based on this, I'm sure.
This is my chance to tell you that at some point in the last, 10 years, you go down a rabbit hole, you search something on Wikipedia and it takes you here and here and here and here and here. And I found like fanfiction.com or whatever. There's fan fiction for everything you could imagine, including, I kid you not, Schindler's List.
That sounds right. Yeah.
I don't, now that I'm saying this, I don't remember if it was like / fan fiction.
Yeah.
But either way,
people are, when left alone in a room with their thoughts, people's minds go to some frightening places, including to duck boobs.
This is like your favorite thing about this movie. You've mentioned it several times already.
Because she has nipples.
Yeah.
Like just the implication of duck boobs is one thing.
When they talk about duck breast, that's not what they mean.
Exactly. But then that she has nipples on her duck breasts. And these are like they look like bolt-ons, like
they're implants.
Like implants that are way too big for the frame of the person who's got them.
Well, you know what? He did mention that they have plastic surgery on their planet.
Yes, he was going to be a plastic surgeon.
Well, I don't know. This is just an advanced form of duck. Tim Robbins at one point shows us there's the chart of where humans evolved from apes to,
the Darwin,
Homo sapiens. And he has the same thing for ducks. And there's, several 100,000 years between the ducks as we know them and modern duck. So who knows what.
But effectively, there's nothing different about Howard and a duck than he has a
penis.
Don't ducks have penises? I don't know. How do they reproduce?
I don't know.
I don't understand duck physiology.
Okay, they don't use condoms.
He does. He has something that needs a condom.
Actual ducks don't use.
Well, of course not. Have you? I mean, there's probably a scientist out there that's trying that. Duck over someone is definitely trying to put a condom on a Canadian goose. Oh, I'm telling you right now.
Oh yeah.
Somebody is desperately trying that somewhere. Or at the very least, get crushed up birth control.
Neuter them, yeah.
Pill. I don't know. But just the idea that someone made this is hilarious. But then, that this changes the entire physiology of this race. It is clear that they give birth to eggs because, again, like I said, Howard freaks out when he is served eggs. He talks about coming from an egg. So do they come out of the egg and then suckle?
I don't want to think about that.
Are we talking about ducks nursing here, or are these breasts on this one duck that we see as Howard is getting pulled through his apartment complex? He goes through someone's bathroom and sees this duck with nipples.
Okay, I just Googled.
Did you Google duck penis?
I Googled, do ducks have a penis? And Wikipedia tells me, although most male birds have no penis, ducks have a long corkscrew penis, and the females have a long corkscrew vagina.
Cool.
Meditate on that image for a while.
Yeah.
Sorry about the nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
That's, corkscrew. So, you're stuck. No, thank you.
Yes.
Leah Thompson, run. It's going to be very painful.
Run away.
Oh.
Yeah. So, so then the other scenario is that these are purely cosmetic. And if so, where did they get the idea for nipples? And that is an aesthetic that they need to go for. Well,
you have really put a lot of thought into this.
Yes. Well, maybe they got it from the fact.
You've had 30 years.
Maybe they got this idea from the fact that their entire society is based on puns of Earth stuff.
Right.
I get it as a joke. It's funny, haha. But the world that they propose is a world in which everything that exists in the world is named after a pun related to the dominant species.
Yeah, they're in the brief glimpse we got of Howard's world in the first, 10 minutes. There was nothing that was not based on that didn't have a human corollary.
Yes, there was My Little Chickadee with
W.C.
Fowles and May Nest. There was a temple. There's an Indiana Jones,
Drake, I think.
Yeah. There was Splash Dance, which was a Flash Dance parody. There are shows on. There was an ad for Jock Itch cream. For the ducks, and everything is a parody. So in the analog to us, everything would be named after some parody of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
So it's not W.C. Fields. It would be like W.C. Femur. I don't know. Like it would, I don't understand. Like I get it as a joke. It's funny. It's a gag. It's look at this duck. He lives in a world. Yeah, all these familiar things.
When you take it a step farther, you're like, wait, what?
Right. And you're not supposed to think about this movie this far.
But we reliably do. We take everything a step too far.
Of course. Why not? But yeah, they have this great. The whole planet is it's all duck stuff. There's 2 moons. On this planet for some reason. I don't know. And
it's never really established where in the universe they are.
Yeah, they said something about Alpha Centauri, and then it was redirected. The beam was redirected to his planet. So, we're assuming, who knows? But yeah, I mean, how far away is a planet of ducks from us? Who knows? It could be anywhere. There's, along with all these parodies, there's a ton of little in jokes and stuff in this movie, little references in this movie. Like it's full. I mean, for all I know, the 2 moons is a reference to the 2 suns on Tatooine. They use the Wilhelm scream in this movie like 4 times, which is crazy.
Are you only supposed to use it once? I thought that was the thing.
George Lucas's thing is that he uses it in every movie at least once.
Okay.
But it is so distinctive.
Yeah.
That's the one that's like,
yes,
or whatever.
I know.
And so it's in this movie like 4 or 5 times. And because George Lucas puts it in every Star Wars as a joke.
Oh, I didn't know.
And so it gets put into like all Star Wars media, like Lego Star Wars, and everything. Like it gets put into everything as a joke. There are a ton of these little puns. Did you catch in the final musical number? Did you catch the homage that's in that number?
No.
That Howard is doing?
No, it seemed very, very, very Back to the Future.
He's right. He's Marty McFly. Okay. Like he is in the exact same clothes.
Okay.
He's shredding on a red guitar.
Oh, okay.
He's doing everything but saying, your parents are going to love it or something.
I got
he's
that
100%.
I got that vibe. I didn't know if it was Leah Thompson doing that for me or if there were other.
Yeah, no. Which is funny in and of itself that she's from both movies.
Yeah.
But 100%. That's 100%. I mean, there's no way it's not. Yeah. He's wearing the silver jacket. He's getting down on a red guitar, to play it. It's 100%.
Having an inappropriate relationship.
Even I think there's a line where Howard says, "What's this?" and Tim Robbins' character Phil says, "Rock and roll." Like I just expected somebody calling their cousin off. Hey, you got to hear this, man.
You know that new sound you've been looking for?
Yeah. So there's tons of that stuff. I know there's a few others I took mental notes of, but now I forgot. I wish I had written them down. But there's just a ton of stuff in here. And you could tell this was just like, this movie was made, it was a lark, and it was George Lucas and a bunch of these other people. Like, I think the team that wrote this movie also wrote like Temple of Doom or something. Mm-hmm. So it's just like full of these people that Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, the Amblin sort of crowd are sort of all over this. And I think there's a lot of little references and little in jokes and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all over the place. But yeah, this is a heck of a movie.
Yes. Yes.
So we'll keep it moving. Let's talk about your favorite part, which is the interspecies romance that seems to crop up.
So uncomfortable with this, and it wasn't even necessary.
What wasn't it?
No, you can, they're good pals. They're, that was not necessary. I am seriously grossed out.
I don't know.
I think the thing that helped keep it from getting into fully gross territory is that it's very hard to have a kiss between a human and a duck.
In a duck costume, yeah.
Yes. If it were something else where he didn't have that big old beak, I think they would have been making out and I would have lost my lunch. Yeah. So thank God for the beak, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, well, speaking of the whole love aspect, this is kind of related to it for me. What is your take on the character of Beverly overall? What I mean is she is like simultaneously a damsel in distress, but also can clearly take care of herself. She is smart and capable, but also is, at one point literally tied up like a damsel in distress. she multiple people attempt to assault her.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is your take on this character?
I don't know. I tend to be fairly credulous about fictional, about fictional properties, movies, TV shows, but like, okay, I contrary to what it sounds like on this podcast, because I am incredulous about many, many, many things. A lot of times I'm just like, okay, this is the character. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
She is who she is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Yeah. I know you have an answer to this.
No, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I have an answer. I'm genuinely interested. I mean, I just think there are interesting scenes in the movie, like when she first meets Howard. A couple guys are trying to rough her up / whatever in the back alley, and she starts calling for help. And then you see this moment where she realizes, like, wait a second, and she just starts punching this guy in the face. Like she's like, help, help, and then she's just like, wait, and she just starts rocking this guy's jaw. So it's just this weird, it's like, and I think there was a female executive producer on this, so I don't know if there was ever any influence like that, but that is one of the things I like. I like looking for little things in movies, or like somebody was thinking here. Yeah. Like someone was like, oh, we're gonna do a little bit more than what you might expect out of this character, because it would be super easy to just have her be helpless the whole time, but she's definitely not.
Well, I don't know. See, I didn't notice that, but I take that as she realized nobody was going to help her, and she was like, well, I'm not going to go down without a fight. Not really expecting to, I can kick their asses because I'm capable, but I'm going to make it harder for them. So I don't take it exactly the way that you do.
Sure. Although I think this was after Howard had already started to intervene, or at least the one guy had gone off to deal with him.
Well, yeah. When it goes from 2-on-1 to 2-on-2, then you have a chance. Sure.
Yeah. But she seems like independent and capable, but also a lot of that gets immediately flushed.
Yes.
It's almost like it's a different character from scene to scene. Like the whole thing we're talking about, and this is the reason I thought of this with the love angle, is Howard sort of starts this sort of innuendo, and she's like, "Oh yeah, really?" And then and the roles are immediately reversed. Yeah, and he is immediately like, "Oh, I have a headache. I don't. How would it even work?" And I just thought that was funny that he comes on strong, almost as a joke, and
turns out she's kinkier than you thought,
and he surprises her, and then he is like off of his game. So that's kind of what made me think about this character as having some complexities, some of which I'm sure I'm reading in, but
I'm sure you are. I just don't think any of this was intentional.
Possibly not, but it's an interesting character. I mean, she's a female. She fronts a band. Mm-hmm. She's independent, lives on her own. Most of the male characters in this movie are slimy, right? Yeah. So not a feminist masterpiece by any means, but I thought it was interesting. But
speaking of slimy,
yeah,
can we talk about Jeffrey Jones?
1 second before that, but yes, before that, the very end of this movie, you were waiting for this to happen. They sing the Howard the Duck song that we just played in the intro, and then they go off to the side of the stage, and there's this moment of celebration. And you were over there waiting for them to kiss. Yes. And it fades to black. I guarantee you, because it fades to black weirdly quickly. Yes. There is a kiss.
So there's
I guarantee. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
You're saying they test screen this, and people rightly were grossed out by the kissing.
No. Yeah. I mean, the Howard the Duck song is like, she's saying
it's a little bit of a
love song.
Yeah.
Also, weirdly, it's written by Howard, like in the movie. It's the beat of the song and the chords. He bangs them out on a piano when she's in the shower at one point, right before their almost love scene.
Okay.
But I guarantee you, it fades out so quickly and so purposefully at the end.
Yeah.
I
completely.
There was a kiss. Yeah. There was absolutely a kiss there. There had to be. But yes, speaking of slime balls.
Yeah. So yeah, Jeffrey Jones plays sort of the head scientist that Tim Robbins' character finds, and it was their experiment that ended up bringing Howard to Earth. And he is just, you know, not much of a character either way until he gets possessed by this dark overlord.
Yes. Well, before that, we just want to say that the official stance of the You Show Me Yours podcast is that Jeffrey Jones is
gross.
a piece of human garbage,
yes,
and is a convicted owner of CP.
Well, here's the thing. I was like, of course Jeffrey Jones is possessed by the Dark Lord. I have never seen him in anything where he plays a redeemable character.
Yes. Too close to home.
I mean, not that I've seen him in that many things. I think
no,
Ferris Bueller is my main
his number one
impression of him, but he was in Sleepy Hollow. Yeah, he was a terrible person there.
Yes.
And I don't even know what else. But that's
tons of other stuff.
That's over 2 and now over 3.
Yeah.
So even before, I think before all those revelations, if you had tried to, it's a rom-com and Jeffrey Jones is in it, and I would have been like, no,
thank you,
no. Yeah. So he and the more that he turned into, so the Overlord is like taking over his body, and then it's like his body is degrading as the Overlord sinks into it more.
It craves power, and every time he gets an infusion of power, his body changes and degrades a little bit.
Yeah, and the more he did, I was like, it's more Jeffrey Jones. Like they didn't even need makeup for this. Right. He's
showing his true form.
Yeah,
I will say, and this is one of those things which I'm sure there are people that are smarter than us, scholarly people, who ponder this question. But he is one of those actors that is like, I mean, like Bill Cosby, is like, he's done these things and they're part of my youth and part of my memories. And how do I compartmentalize the things that he's done that I legitimately enjoy from before I knew he was a monster and what I know of him now?
Well, I think it's much easier in this case because you're supposed to dislike him.
Right. He's playing
the whole time. Guy, Cosby is a whole other situation, and there's more of a betrayal there.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Where, I don't know. I never had great affection for Woody Allen. So that's it's easy for me to write that off. And, now with Jeffrey Jones, I just hate his character more than maybe I otherwise would have.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say that is in the context of what I want to say about this performance is it's basically his best performance he's ever given. Yeah. Because he's 100% committed.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, do I want to heap praise on this person? I don't know. But as a thing that exists.
Which part was the acting? The acting like a human being or acting like a monster?
But the as this thing exists in the time and place it was created, it's a great performance. He goes absolutely all into it. He is, like just covered in fake and probably real sweat the whole time that he's transforming and talking in this crazy voice that is sometimes special effects aided, but sometimes not. He is he's kind of like, if you've ever seen Men in Black.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, Vincent D'Onofrio is in Men in Black, and he actually literally plays a human who is being worn as a suit by an alien.
Okay, he's another. You wonder, like, how much did he need to act? Because he's very not that he is a terrible person, but just most of his characters are very intense and a little scary to begin with.
Yeah,
so,
but he is very much committed to that role and is sweaty and talking in a weird voice and like going into places and ordering, sugar water, like sugar water in a glass. Like, just like weirdly, and he's 100% committed to that role. And this is like that. I liken those two portrayals together, and I wouldn't be surprised to find that D'Onofrio didn't reference Jones in this for some of that portrayal, because it's very, but it's a great performance. He commits to it fully. If only he weren't a piece of garbage. Yeah. I would feel better about praising him for it.
Well, I don't know. To answer your question though, I have a lot more trouble with Cosby.
Yeah, and I only bring up Cosby.
I know, but I'm saying it's a spectrum. There's people who, I don't know, like I would never have called Jeffrey Jones beloved even before these revelations. So
I think there was probably a time where he was, him and the guy from Breakfast Club, the principal from Breakfast Club, like they were riding, and Johnny from Karate Kid. They were sort of riding. There was a late 90s time where early 2000s where you kind of were riding that wave of like being remembered fondly as being a foil to a great character from the 80s.
Love to hate. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So, he was probably, he was beloved as much as any of those folks were, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just mean as a baseline, that's why I say bringing up Cosby, like cast a shadow over the whole thing.
Well, sure.
I just mean as a baseline, like what is the appropriate way to think about this and sort of just in general, like, cause it's a spectrum, but there's a bottom to that spectrum. Like there's only so, you've got your worst offenders, but then as you go down, it's not like you ever get to a point where someone can be loved again and be celebrated again in a way that's appropriate. So that's what I mean. But like I say, I'm sure go on YouTube. There's probably a dozen thought pieces on how to enjoy or not enjoy the Cosby Show or Ferris Bueller's Day Off or whatever.
There actually is a book, and it was by, oh my gosh, what's her name? Emily something. She's the TV critic for, I think, Slate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Emily Bazelon because that's somebody else. Anyway, it's a whole book. It's a book of essays about TV watching over the years.
Sure.
And one of them is, what do you do with Cosby now? Which is, I have thought, like, should we do an episode about the Cosby Show? Because that was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And it makes me, I pretty much decided I can't show that to our child, even though the gross stuff is not part of the show. And it makes me sad, but I just, my mind is like, I can't do that. But yeah, there is a lot of writing and probably commentary out there on what do you do?
Oh yeah, and I think that you hit on a perfect point. It's very different for us who were contemporary to the good things versus introducing this to someone and going, yeah, but don't Google this guy now. Like this is hilarious. But like we showed Will Pee-wee's Big Adventure. There was a time where Paul Rubens was there was a brief moment where he had a shadow cast over him, but now he's rehabilitated his image and for the most part, and I don't feel weird about it.
Like you said, there are some things that you just can't come back from.
100%.
And Jeffrey Jones is one of those.
Yes, despite the fact that he still gets work doing voice work on children's television shows.
Does he really?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, I didn't know that.
Which is horrible. Yes.
Ooh.
So this, like we were saying, this is kind of the stereotypical 80s movie. To move on to nicer things. Yeah. This is like a stereotypical 80s movie. It's in so many different ways. There is a whole like back third of this movie where they go back to the lab to try to send Howard home. And so the Dr. Jenner, who is the Jones, has okay, we can reverse the polarity, science, and we could send you home, and maybe we could open a permanent link between our worlds, and we'll start sharing technology and ideas, and it'll be the great time for man and duck alike, duck man alike. So they go back to the lab. By the time Phil, Tim Robbins, Beverly, and Howard get there, something's gone on at the lab. There's been an accident. When they reversed the polarity or whatever, it fed back on them and it blasted Jenner. And there's guys running around with burned faces and the police come and there's all sorts of confusion and they try to arrest Howard and blah, blah, blah.
And who's with the police, by the way?
Oh, right.
That was delightful.
What's the actor's name?
Paul Guilfoyle is his name. He was in CSI for a long time.
He is being typecast.
Yeah, that's except he's got 3 times as much hair.
Yes, he's got a weird amount of definitely losing it hair, but
and it's blonde kind of. I think of
blondish.
it. Yeah. So I don't remember if I've seen him in anything else.
Yeah, but he's playing a police detective just like he does in every other thing he's in, I imagine. And there's also the other actor. He plays a character named Larry. He played the nerdy guy and everything. Paul, I think Palmer is his last name. The guy you reacted to him when he came on screen. He's only there for a minute. He's the scientist. He plays the scientist that tells them that Jenner got blasted.
I can't remember now.
Balding, nerdy actor who's in a ton of stuff.
Now.
Anyway,
Okay.
David Palmer, I think.
Paymer. Yeah. He also has more hair here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here. Yes. Yes. So there's several good, and I'm sure there's some other guys we're missing with good cameos. But, so anyway, Phil gets arrested, and somehow the trio of Jenner and Howard and Beverly get away, and because they find Jenner and he's not dead, and but what we figure out is he is transforming now into the Overlord.
Yeah.
And they end up at this restaurant, which is called Joe Roma's Cajun Sushi, which I think they said they were trying to combine three things that you would never see combined, which is an Italian, Cajun, Japanese place, sushi restaurant. And that's where the main transformation, where the evil takes over or whatever. And there's a whole big scene there, and they try to roast Howard and blah, blah, blah. And that's when you get the plot laid down, basically, that now the Overlord is trying to reopen the portal so that he can bring other Overlords to the Earth.
Yeah, I kind of thought, this is going to wrap up pretty quickly, and then this whole thing happens, and then it's a whole different movie.
Yes. So I say all that to set us up for what's next, but you were going to say.
The transformation of Jenner, it starts out, he's just like, I don't feel so good. And he's talking about his stomach, and I was like, God, he's going to lay an egg. Ugh. So
at least you didn't have to see that.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like the Duck Planet. Somehow the laser did something and it got
infected with an egg.
I think this is better than that. I don't.
Yeah. Well, yes. So anyway, this ends up with Howard left behind and Beverly kidnapped by Jenner. He needs her because he needs bodies for these other guys to inhabit when they get here, because they can't survive initially on Earth. Whatever. So he takes Beverly. Jenner takes Beverly. And goes off, and Howard kind of hides and stays behind as the police show up at this Italian Cajun sushi place, and they've got Phil in tow. Howard manages to free Phil, comedy slapstick, getting out of the police car. It's setting the tone for the whole thing. You know, Phil is like, "Get a rock and break the window," and Howard is like, "What if I just try the door handle?" Mm-hmm. And right about that time, Phil comes jumping out the open window in front of in front of the thing. So it sets the tone. So they end up finding an ultralight that like behind or next to the restaurant somehow. And that engages us in a crazy Smokey and the Bandit style chase scene.
Very long
chase scene. Lots put into this. There's police cars. They land on a moving truck at one point. They attack and buzz some duck hunters and throw them out of their boat. And it's like they just sat down and said, we need everything. We need all of the cliches from 80s movie car chases. I didn't see for sure, but I'm sure. They drive through like a fruit or vegetable stand.
I was about to say.
I was going to say like a vegetable cart definitely got hit.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of police cars. They're flying in the ultralight, and they have to do a repair in air because the cops shoot out the engine. And Phil, of course, Howard, because he's a duck, is flying this, but his people evolved away from wings a long time ago, so he doesn't actually have wings.
Also from swimming. So there's several things where he's in the pool and he doesn't know what to do.
He cannot swim, which he announces. So they're having this huge chase, and Phil ends up hanging off the ultralight and getting like
nearly pulled
through the water, and then he's hanging head first, and he's almost drowning. Then he's hanging feet first, and he's like kind of skiing, and then they're flipping around and flying, and it's just this great, feel good kind of thing. Like you just knew that they were just like, oh, people are going to love this. It's a wacky car chase. Everybody loves a wacky car chase, but we're upping the ante by having them in an ultralight, and
it's a duck.
And it's a duck who can't fly, who's flying. You get it? You get this joke?
The cherry on top is it's a duck.
It's a duck that can't fly who's flying a plane. And they end up almost hitting a train that is going by, but they happen to fly through right as an open boxcar comes in front of it, and it knocks their wings off. And then the police are blocked, and they're smooth sailing the rest of the way back to the place where we're going to have our ultimate climax showdown back at the space laser. But yeah, it's just top to bottom. It's just a great, like, Burt Reynolds would be proud.
Yes.
It's just one of those great scenes.
Get a bingo card of every car chase cliche. It'll take you about 2 minutes.
Yeah, do a drinking game.
Yes.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, there's not a ton more to talk about with this. You wrap up the plot of the movie. They get back, and we have our big creature moment.
That was
so it's this crazy, it really is like, it's a good kind of comic book looking creature.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up, Howard and Phil get back. And of course, Jenner is now like in his fully transformed form. He has like these weird spikes coming off of his spine, and all his proportions look a little bit weird.
It's like the Demogorgon meets Alien meets
like a Frankenstein type of thing. And he's got all kinds of great Ghostbuster special effects, like throughout the whole thing. They do a thing, and I guess this was probably like a hip joke at the time, where they get stopped. And I'm sure this was a California joke because they're in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm sure this sort of thing didn't happen in the 80s. They get stopped for a smog check. And Jenner and Beverly, and there's a whole little thing, and he's like, smog check, and blows up the cars, and he shoots proton pack beams out of his hands at the police, and he does crazy eye stuff and blows stuff up, and there's all kinds of just great special effects, and it's really like, it's good quality stuff. I mean, it's very, I think we talked on the Highlander episode about the animated lightning and the sort of hand-drawn animated glow effects that they did in 80s movies, and this is just all over that. And they do some really impressive stuff where like he glows, and it's like, that's all like hand done, frame by frame. Thinking about it now, knowing how they did stuff like the lightsabers in Star Wars, and you realize like that was just somebody painting over every single frame, 24 frames to a second of film, doing that. And it's just great special effects, top to bottom, time and place type stuff. But it all looks great. And for the most part, it all holds up. It looks very cartoony and it looks unrealistic, but it totally holds up for me based on like, that's what I remember 80s special effects looking like. That's what I want them to look like.
Yeah, it fits with the whole vibe of the movie. It's not like, for example, in Vertical Limit, where all of a sudden there's this B-roll that is very pixelated, and you're like, that doesn't fit with the rest of this. Yeah.
But anyway, so we get to our big climactic fight scene ending, and Phil and Howard show up, and Phil remembers for some reason, because he is basically made out to, he works at the Cleveland Museum of History or whatever. But he's made out to be almost like a janitor. Like he's an assistant, and he doesn't get to do it. But also he somehow is friends with people at this highly scientific laboratory, one of whom showed him like some crazy gravity laser. Yeah.
But he's just working at the museum until, quote, he can get his own museum. I was like, I don't think that's how it works. It's not like your own McDonald's franchise, but anyway.
So one of the scientists there has shown Phil that there's some kind of a photon cannon or whatever there, and they realize, okay, we'll beat him with this for some reason. We'll beat Jenner with this, the Overlord. And they strap it to a little cart, and they go in, and there's all shenanigans, and there's silliness, and they can't get it working, or it's going too fast. And Howard, don't push that button.
I think the cart wouldn't move until he had his
seatbelt on. But also somehow they entered the room accidentally because Howard hit a button that made the cart go. Without the seatbelt. But anyway, we're not here for consistent writing. No. Anyway, they managed to get the Overlord out of Jenner through they shoot lightning at each other.
They cross the streams
effectively, and the Overlord's out, and he's this huge stop motion crab scorpion.
This is
thing
Demogorgon. That's
kind of. But imagine if the Demogorgon was crossed with a scorpion or something, because he has like little scorpion legs, and he has these grotesque tentacles that he shoots out with a single little pincer on the end of them with a little spike. And he previously used that to draw energy out of the lighter, the cigarette lighter.
That was a nice touch of consistency or of continuity, by the way, when Jeffrey Jones is still, or let's not call him that. Jenner is still in his human form. He's got these subtle changes over time, and his nails are very long.
Yes.
Which then later you just think, oh, his nails are growing, but no, it's these little claws. So that was a nice continuity moment.
It was a good design before the transformation and after.
Yeah.
And they have the big battle, and with the crab monster, and they there's the moment where they defeat him, and then there's more coming, but he manages to flip the switch. He being Overlord, he flips the switch though, and it's too late. There are more of them coming, and the only way to stop the three more from invading is if they blow up the laser telescope thing, which is Howard's only way home, and they do, and
he makes the sacrifice. He chooses Earth, Duck Land,
Duck World, or whatever it was called. And then they write a song about it, and it's wonderful. And Thomas Dolby.
We are spared
writes a duck song.
Pictures of duck makeout sessions, but I'm sure they happen.
Tongue went into that bill.
Oh God!
It was. They probably had a prosthetic tongue on the Howard costume that they rigged up to go.
I'm
the
not
other way.
Comfortable with this
and
at all.
Exposed his corkscrew penis.
Ew!
Got his unpackaged condom out of his wallet.
Stop.
Yeah, there's a point where he finds his wallet. She being Beverly finds his wallet, and he has a little condom in there, and it's not in a package or anything.
It's unwrapped.
It's rolled up, but it's loose.
Yeah. Well, what's funny? So there's a brief period where Howard gets a job like in a bathhouse, kind of thing, and
in Cleveland.
It's this. It's like. Did you have Sybaris growing up?
Mm-mm.
We didn't in my hometown, but we got Chicago TV stations, and so there were ads for Sybaris spas, and it was like a hotel for couples, I think. So the understanding is you're going there for some good sex.
Oh yeah.
And it was marketed as like for your anniversary, but probably not for those things. But there were like, heart-shaped beds and heart-shaped hot tubs and lots of pictures of couples drinking champagne. And, it's like today there's the sandals ads. Imagine that, but for a hotel. So this spa that he's working in or bathhouse or whatever is like that. There's all these couple, and people look like they're doing it in a hot tub. And I was like, this was pre-AIDS, wasn't it? This was more weird. We didn't know about these, because it looked like it was just people going there to hook up, not like it was necessarily couples. Anyway, but then we have a condom. So maybe it is, because I don't know, are ducks big on birth control or STDs? I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe that was their nod to safer sex.
Safe sex. Maybe.
Only go to the Sybaris spa with your monogamous partner after you've been tested. But until then,
apparently.
Wrap it up. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about a corkscrew condom.
No. Well, it would just be the regular one. You just need more of it to go around.
Ew.
Around the curves.
No, thank you. Yeah, minus the interspecies romance. This movie was fun.
Yeah. Just that, and that's what it is. It's just fun. It's got some fun music in it. The ending song, but there are a few other songs that they perform, and apparently it's all actually Leah Thompson singing. In all the songs. I guess there was like a thing during production where it was like she recorded it as a scratch track, and then they were going to have like, who knows? Like I saw names like. Belinda Carlisle.
That's who I was thinking of. They did have a...
Yeah.
They had that kind of a feel.
There were names like that thrown around. And then like every other young actress, apparently, like I'm blanking on them right now, but like every young actress in Hollywood had gone for this role, including some musicians.
I'm imagining Debbie Gibson being
could be
suggested for this. The hair, just at least, and like Leah Thompson, I think, has pretty straight hair, but it's all done up. It's blown out and hairspray and crimped and everything. It is huge. And I kept looking at her hair and I was like, that is Debbie Gibson.
Yeah. No, they said it was like 2 hours a day to get that hair. And
I believe it.
And at some point she was like, couldn't I just have had a wig? And they were like, yeah. Like, well, okay, well, why are we doing this? Every day, 2 hours to get my hair all bouffant, and I could have just had a wig the whole time. But yeah, so they didn't know whether it was going to be like, are we going to get a well-known pop singer to sing this, and then she'll just dub over it. But then I think probably most of the pop singers who were interested also wanted to play the role.
Yeah, I believe
so. It ended up just being her, and I think all the others, all like the backing vocals, were all done by the other actresses in the band. So it was all, and then I think I think Leah Thompson learned some amount of guitar playing for this.
Oh, that's cool.
I've heard stories that she still has the Les Paul that she uses in the. I read a story, that she still has the Les Paul that she uses in the last scene, and every now and then she breaks it out and plays it again.
Oh, that's fun.
Which is fun. But yeah, this movie has, like I said, an interesting legacy. It was a flop. It possibly cost the head of Universal his job, or certainly contributed to it. It won some Razzies. Including for worst song for the Howard the Duck song. That song is great. That's a banger.
It slaps.
Come on. Right. No cap. Right.
Okay. I don't know what that one is.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. I'm 6 weeks behind on my.
Yes.
We're waiting for our kid to explain it to us.
Yes. It won a bunch of Razzies. I think Tim Robbins won Razzie for worst supporting actor. Just stuff like that. The director, this was his second flop in a row.
Oh boy!
And so it ended his career completely.
Oh,
obviously George Lucas had to sell off Skywalker Animation or whatever it was called to Steve Jobs, and it became Pixar. And
gosh.
People lost tons of money and jobs and livelihoods, and their lives were forever changed. And I don't think the one positive, I guess, is that none of the actors ever really seemed to suffer fallout. No one was blackballed because they were in Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
I guess this would be Holly Robinson would have gone on to Head of the Class after this, or was she in Head of the Class at this time? I can't remember.
Was she in that?
Wasn't that her? Or am I imagining that?
You're thinking Robin Givens.
I'm thinking Robin Givens. You are right.
She did some other. She did some other stuff.
You are correct. But she did plenty of other stuff.
Yeah.
But you are correct. I am thinking Robin Givens. So Howard the Duck, final thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, silly, dumb.
I will repeat, this is rated PG. Be careful if you show it to your children.
It's not really appropriate for kids.
There's going to be some stuff that goes over their head.
Yes.
And if your kid is in the 8 to 13 range, they're going to be like, I don't.
Yeah. There's no human nudity. There's some close calls, but it's all obscured, especially in the spa scene. There's no human nudity. There's not really any extreme foul language.
No.
The themes are other than the overt interspecies sexuality.
Leah Thompson's hanging out in her underwear at one point.
Yes.
And he's kind of ogling her butt. I would consider, if you want your children to see this, consider it as being PG-13.
I will say Howard the Duck is going to show up in some Marvel property soon, I'm sure, given the fact that the seed has been planted by having him multiple times in different movies. He will probably show up at some point on a television show or in another movie as a supporting character or as a cameo or something. And this movie, if nothing else, is interesting as a ancient version of what Howard the Duck was previously portrayed like in cinema. Just like, the new Fantastic Four movies are going to come out, and that, go back and watch the ones from the 2000s just for nothing else, just for a laugh.
Yeah, it is always interesting to see different takes on characters, we were talking about with Little Women a couple episodes ago. You watch all the different remakes or things that were inspired by them, and you can see the common threads, but then also where they went a totally different route. And it's interesting. Once you really enjoy a character, you can enjoy its various iterations, which is fun.
Yeah.
So that's Howard the Duck, folks. I am really surprised at how much I enjoyed this, but we would love to know what you think. What is your thought on interspecies romance and a duck's corkscrew penis? And Jeffrey Jones as a garbage person. And anything else that had you seen Howard the Duck? Did you like it when it came out? Do you like it now? Et cetera, et cetera. We'd love to know what you think. So drop us a line. We're on both Twitter, or you can send us an email. Our handle is YSMY Podcast for You Show Me Yours Podcast at Twitter or at gmail.com. And in the meantime, we have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, you come back and find a spanking new one. We're on most of your major podcast providers, specifically Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And while you're there getting a new episode, why don't you just, rate, review, and subscribe so that you will always know when the newest episode is. And I believe our next episode, we are doing some horror movies.
Yes.
We are usually every 2 weeks. We're going to have a 4-week block.
So by now, you should have been hearing for a couple of episodes the promos for our Halloween Spooktacular. I don't actually know what we're going to call it yet because we haven't decided.
It's going to be count how many times Marian jumps.
Right. Exactly. So by now you should have been hearing about our Spooktacular, which is going to feature Marian being introduced to what I consider to be the pillars of especially 80s, but the pillars of cinematic horror, that being A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Hellraiser, and Halloween. All of the original versions of all those, the first movies in all of those franchises.
Never seen any of those. I've seen the sequels to some of them, but not the originals.
So she is about to go on a ride. It will be 4 episodes, one every week in the month of October. And it's going to be a crazy time.
Yeah. We're going to have some kind of counter for how many times I jump or scream.
Yes,
or
I'll have to take notes.
It's going to be a lot. So yeah, tune in next time for horrors, and then we'll see you then. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
I find myself grooving to this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
About to be plucked, too groovy for gravy, too precious for pate.
You like that?
Is it too precious for panties? Is that what it is?
Pate.
Ew.
Too precious for pate.
Ew.